All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new week of Student of the Gun Radio. Thank you for joining us. If you are a brand new listener, I know that today's show is going to probably bring in a lot of brand new listeners. Welcome. Take a deep breath. Open up both your ears, close that hole underneath your nose, and prepare to listen and learn. Zach, please play the opening music for us.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
All right. We had some tragic news this last week, the end of last week. This is obviously our first at the beginning of the week show, but it's the first one we recorded since I found out. Our good friend, a grad program member, alumnus, friend of the show, friend and associate of This Week in Guns, and we like guns and we like shooting, and we like ammunition too. He passed away suddenly, and we just want to take a moment and have some silence and remember that and think about that for a moment. All right. Zach, it sounded almost like there was a cricket in the background. Was that just my headphones?
No, that's been a thing, and I have no idea what's causing it or how to stop it or anything.
It's like a weird when we go complete quiet, you get like this weird audio chirp. It's almost like a cricket.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Zach, quick question.
Just,
this is like super meta for the listeners, but do you mute your microphone when you're not talking, Zach?
Yes, almost always.
Okay.
Oh, let's try something.
Zach Spillenick had a mental breakdown the other day.
Why?
On the phone, while I was on the phone with him, because he wanted you to mute your microphone while we weren't talking, while you weren't talking. I said, I think he does.
He does.
I do.
He does.
Yeah, I almost always mute my microphone.
All right, I want to talk about some positive news. I don't know. I labeled it as good news, and it's good news from an aspect that people are fighting back, which is good. Anytime American citizens fight back against the tyranny of their government, that is good news. Now, the jury's still out, or the jury hasn't even sat down yet, but this is a good news story. So what I wanted Zach to do, and what Zach is going to do, Zach, the production ogre, the producer, Zach is going to play our special music theme that was given to us by a good friend of the show. It's called Enter the Pimp Hand. This is my good news theme song. How's that sound? All right, we had a little bit of a fader issue going out there. I don't know what that was.
With the Skype, it's kind of funky because like when I'm pulling it down and
it takes a little bit for Skype to catch up with the.
Yeah, and also like when people talk and stuff, it cuts it out and then comes back in. And I mean, a call from Jeff Kirkham right now.
Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about: a Washington Times story. This is a brand new story dated April 16th, 2020. So the news just broke the end of last week. You're hearing this at the beginning of the week, but it just broke the end of last week. And Jared, you got the story open? Gun groups sue Georgia?
I do, but I'm unable to access it.
Oh, okay. Gun groups sue Georgia County judge for suspending concealed carry. This is from WashingtonTimes.com. It says two gun rights groups filed a lawsuit Thursday against a Georgia judge Georgia, where Ron White cannot pick up the turd. A Georgia judge who suspended concealed carry permit applications in his county, arguing that the decision violates the Second Amendment. Duh. The Firearms Policy Coalition and the Second Amendment Foundation filed a lawsuit in U.S. District Court in Atlanta against Cherokee County probate judge Keith Wood, the county itself, and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican who should know better. The lawsuit was filed on behalf of Lisa Waters, a member of both groups, or I'm sorry, Walters, not Waters, Walters, a member of both groups. She said she was barred from applying for a new concealed carry license, locally known as a Georgia Weapons License, or GWL. Ms. Walters had led a previous GWL lapse. Judge Wood suspended all GWL applications last month, citing measures to stop the spread of corona. Really?
This is
Really?
crazy. I was able to finally get access to the story, and but he says he allowed his office to continue processing wedding licenses and other paperwork.
So they'll do other official documents, and the wedding licenses and the other official documents don't spread the virus. But GWL licenses, gun permits spread the virus. What? Second Amendment Foundation and the Firearms Policy Coalition say Cherokee County's refusal to accept new applications through May 13th deprive residents of their rights under the Constitution. And actually, what I would add is the fact that you have to go and ask permission from the king to carry a gun violates the Second Amendment of the United States of America, the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Yes, it does. So Firearms Policy Coalition President Brandon Combs, in a statement, that Georgia residents must be allowed to exercise their freedoms throughout the pandemic. And we don't need to read every single word,
right?
But that is good news. People are fighting back.
Were there any prisoners released in Georgia? I didn't specifically see a story from Georgia about that, but I wonder if that happened there in Georgia.
I don't know. They're pretty much
because what we've seen from a lot of these,
their minds.
Yeah, a lot of the cities and states that have released criminals are also trying to. Go ahead.
First story I typed in prisoner Georgia release, and it came up. Story from March 31st: Georgia to release some inmates due to COVID-19 fears.
So they're releasing inmates while also stopping the procurement of new concealed carry licenses.
Yeah. April 2nd, Georgia inmates to be released early due to COVID fears.
So people that read those stories and were like, holy crap, I need to go get a concealed carry permit. They're like, nope, you can't do that. Sorry.
Oh, you don't need that. Guns don't protect you. That's why we have the police.
Yeah, call the police, except for they're only, I don't know what's going on in Georgia, but a lot of the cities that did this were also, the police were responding only to certain types of calls.
Well, never mind the fact that the United States Supreme Court says that the state, through law enforcement, has no constitutional duty to protect you as an individual citizen. Remember that, all you new gun buyers and new gun owners and new gun carriers. The Supreme Court of the United States and several state Supreme Courts have affirmed on numerous occasions that the POPO, the cops, the police, which I was one, so don't write me letters, or you can write me a letter anyway. Send it to P.O. Box 405, Boulder, Colorado. And if you want to reply, make sure you include a self-addressed stamped envelope. But law enforcement has no constitutional requirement or duty to protect you as an individual citizen.
And we've done full shows on that topic. I can't remember if they were public or if they were grad program only, but if you're a new listener and you haven't listened to that show yet, just go to studentofthegun.com and type in the words in the search bar, type in no duty to protect you, and the episode will come up for you.
Yeah, or you could actually go book shopping. I wrote a whole book about it called Examining the Armed Citizen.
Yep.
And I detailed that. But let's go ahead and go into our warrior of this plays right into our why do we carry guns? You should just call 911 and wait for the police to show up. Right?
Absolutely.
We got a Warrior of the Week question, and it actually is a call-in. Jared, before Zach plays the question, will you remind people what they need to do to be the Warrior of the Week?
Yep. Just call 844-207-7684. Ask your question. If we choose it, then you're going to email info@studentofthegun.com with your name, mailing address, phone number, and your email.
Typed into the body.
Yep.
What do they get?
A free bottle of 9mm plus P from SWAT Fuel. And if you would like to check it out and see what it's all about, go to swatfuel.com. If you want to replenish your supply, then use the promo code SOTG, and you can save yourself some money at SWAT Fuel.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that guy to come back. I think I'm getting a little bit closer to dealing with the oxygen deprivation up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And one second.
How's that been doing?
I'm doing full workouts now. I'm doing 3x5s for squats and 3x5s for presses and bench and stuff like that. So it's coming back.
Awesome. All right, Zach, you got the question ready?
I was about to say,
Sweet.
it's time for the question.
Hey, this is Matt Herrera from Washington. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for helping me, be mentally prepared to be dangerous on demand. I was out working one night late, came around the corner to my garage, and my dog, who's ahead of me, bristled up, and there happened to be a guy in my garage with his arms full of my tools, including an axe handle, and I was able to pull the Smith & Wesson 329 44 mag off my chest and hold that dude at gunpoint until the police arrived. So, I just wanted to say thanks for encouraging me and teaching me through your radio program. And if I had a question, it would be I usually carry solids in this gun because we have a lot of bears and lions and stuff like that where I live. But after that encounter, it made me wonder if maybe I should be carrying a different bullet. Do you have any recommendations? And that's it. Thanks.
All right, Matt, thank you, number one, for sharing your story with us, with the whole entire audience, and for making the point that you just don't know. You don't get to choose. You as the individual citizen, as the homeowner, as the person out and about doing your thing, you don't get to choose and decide whether or not someone is going to accost you, rob you, break into your house. That's not up to you. You just your job is to be ready. All right. That's why we always preach to be dangerous on demand. Now, I had kind of a chuckle when I heard this, because the fact that he's like, I pulled my Smith 329 off and out my chest and pointed at the dude, and I carry solids. And what he's talking about is if you're going to shoot a bear or a mountain lion or whatever, a really big factor in killing animals is penetration. It's got to get in deep enough to do enough damage to make them stop. So, but you're talking about a 44 Magnum here. So I'm going to say whatever, if he had, like, let's say he had 240 grain solid leads or, whatever in there, and that joker in his garage would have, gotten stupid and done something that would require him to be ventilated, he probably would have done a good job. I'm going to say a 240 grain 44 Magnum soft point would probably do a good job. Now, if you're looking for middle ground, like a best of both worlds, you say, well, I don't want to go full on, open tip hollow point that's going to, expand in 6 inches or whatever. I want to go deep. Okay. Black Hills actually makes a 44 Magnum Honey Badger load. It's 160 grain solid bullet, and it's chucking out. Jared, you want to guess how fast this bullet is screaming out of a barrel?
1,500 feet per second.
18.
Holy crap! On a 44 Magnum.
Yeah.
That's,
So, well, it's only
18 feet per
160,
second?
1,800. 1,800 feet per second. 44 Magnum. So if you're kind of looking, and that's the thing about the Honey Badger bullets, is they're designed so that they do hellacious tissue damage without having to open up, and because they are a solid bullet, they do penetrate deeply. So if you're looking for a best of both worlds, if you guys are 44 Magnum people out there and you're thinking, I might have to shoot a bear, I might have to shoot a mountain lion, I might have to shoot a two-legged predator, what should I do? And like I said, this isn't practice ammo. This is not, well, I'm going to go out and shoot tin cans or glass bottles or whatever. No, this is, I need to shoot something that's made out of flesh that is dangerous. And in that case, if you want to shoot something that's dangerous and fleshy, you buy the best ammunition you can get your hands on. You don't go cheap. When it's time to save your life from a predator, that's not the time for white box. Okay. Yeah, that's right now. If you go to if you go to Brownells, you can buy single boxes of Black Hills ammunition from brownells.com. Just type it into their search engine and drive on. So there you go. Good job, Matt, doing everything right. And the one thing I would add to that is if you are a new gun owner, and I know there's a lot of new gun owners, recent gun owners, people who've just recently applied for their concealed carry permits, or maybe you live in free America and you just carry a gun because that's what Americans do. You need to understand that if you have to hold a joker at gunpoint, the quintessential stop right there, don't move, you have to be mentally prepared for the eventuality or the chance that they don't believe you and that they're just going to do whatever they want anyway. We don't bluff with guns. We don't kid. We don't joke. We don't use guns as bluffing tools. This isn't poker. We don't bluff. And the thing is, you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I point a gun at a guy and I say, stop right there. I'm calling the police. And he's like, no, you're not. And he charges me. You have a gun in your hand. If you don't do something, he's going to punch you in the head, take the gun out of your hand, and kill you with that gun. So you need to be mentally prepared to do what is necessary. All right, Jared, will you please thank the top contributors to the Student of the Gun public group?
I will do that. Loading. Thanks, Matt, for your question. Appreciate it. The top contributors to the Student of the Gun public group are: number 10 is Adam Montgomery, 9, Jason Wilson, 8, Steve Pergantis, 7 is Harry Galinsky, 6, Melissa Ridings, 5 is Derek Babcock, 4 is Alan Blake, 3, Arturo Serran, 2 is Daniel Larson, and number 1 is Trent Wood. Thank you guys for taking the time and the effort to put your commentary into the Student of the Gun public group. We appreciate it.
Sweet Buddha on a rubber raft. Yes, indeed. It is time to thank the people who help us make this show happen. And who would that happen to be? Well, that would be Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms maker in the U.S. of A. And if you guys have not checked out the Canic pistol line, you should do that. They're rhino tough. They won't quit. They will feed and consume practice ammo, whether it's steel case, aluminum cased, brass case, nickel case, whatever. Full metal jacket, jacketed hollow point, honey badger ammo, you name it, it'll run in that gun, and they won't quit, and they're not going to break your bank either. So check those guys out at centuryarms.com. Duracoat, why? Why Duracoat?
Because life is too short to have a gun that doesn't have a badass finish.
That's right, to have an ugly gun. And right now we are happy, pleased, and excited to be working with our friends at Duracoat for the Badass Finish Challenge. We want you guys, well, Jared, tell them what we want them to do, what they should do. I mean, you can have an ugly gun if you want. You're an American. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yep. With the Badass Challenge, what we're doing, we obviously partner with Duracoat Firearm Finishes. So you can go to DuracoatFirearmFinishes.com, pick up some of their badass, it's new technology that they've got out, pick it up. And you're going to take, you pick a project. So you get the can from Duracoat, or cans of colors. And you pick a project, whatever you want to do. We've had people do ammo cans. We've had people do Give me some other examples. I can't think off the top of my head. Oh,
Besides rifles, pistols.
yeah,
knives,
obviously
and
guns. I've seen a sword that was done. Yeah, there's been a lot of things that people have done. In the
fuel
previous
tanks and
challenges
motorcycles.
that we've actually done, so what you're going to do is pick a project, pick a thing, do that project, make it really creative, use the best of your creativity, and then you're going to post that on social media. Use the hashtag Badass Finish, the hashtag Duracoat, and hashtag Student of the Gun. And then you're going to tag us as well so that we can see it. At Student of the Gun and at LCW Duracoat.
All right, so check those guys out and go to Crossbreed Holsters because they want you to be what? They want you to be dangerous on demand. That's kind of the whole point of being a gun carrier, is to have it when you need it. I'm just saying that might be a good idea to have the gun when you need it. And how do you do that? You get a quality holster, you attach the gun to your body, you keep it on your body, and you make it that way all the time. And if you go to crossbreedholsters.com, you can use the promo code SOTG18 and you're going to save some money. So take that money and buy and put it towards a high quality flashlight or a can of Duracoat Badass Finish or whatever you save the money, you then spend it on something else cool.
And you could use that money to fill your go bag.
Oh, that's true.
Wouldn't that be a smart idea?
That
Over at
would be a smart
shopsotg.com, you can fill your go bag with all kinds of great stuff, and you can even get a go bag because we are selling messenger bags as well.
Yeah, shoulder bags, the go bags. Brownells.com, we just talked about them. They have a lot of you guys are like, well, I went to Black Hills website, and they'll only sell it in case lots, and I'm not going to buy a case. And that's fine because they have distributors like Brownells.com who actually buy it in case lots and sell it to you in single boxes. So problem solved, right? You go to Brownells, you support a family-owned business that employs, I don't know how many people they employ. Many. Residents of Iowa are employed by Brownells thanks to the Brownells family deciding that they wanted to create a business and hire those people. So they're a good family-owned business, and you should support them. Check those guys out at brownells.com. All right, new listeners, which I'm sure there are a bunch of you, perk up your ears and listen to this.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a complimentary online training course called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. Get instant access by joining the Student Lounge for free at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of these questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
Yes, indeed. That is what you can and should do. Go to studentofthegun.com or shopsotg.com or what have you. Somebody asked me yesterday during the live stream, they said, hey, I don't have very much money or very much time. Where can I get training? Well, other than that, don't have any time and don't have any money. But training is something that you do under the watchful eye of an instructor, but you can get information and expand your brain and load some information up into your brain by going to studentofthegun.com and signing up for the 7 training tips that could save your life. And that is free. That is free. And that will stimulate the thought process and maybe give you some other stuff to think about. All right. My first gun. Yes, indeed. We know for a fact, based upon FBI NICS background checks, that in the month of March, more guns were sold in the United States, I think, than at any time in recent history. If I believe that is correct. There may be one other month in the history of the United States where more were sold, but it's pretty much, it was at least top 5. March 2020 was top 5 in the entire history of the United States in recorded gun sales since they've been tracking. What does that mean? Does that mean that everybody who's a gun person ran out and bought a gun? Probably not. Because most people who are dedicated gun owners and gun people and prepared individuals, they already had their stuff. So who was it that was running and flocking to gun shops nationwide all month long in March buying guns? Well, it was new gun owners. Or maybe it was somebody who they had a 22 rifle in the closet, or they had an H&R 20 gauge or whatever, but they realized they're like, I probably should have a pistol. I should probably have a rifle or whatever. And I feel very strongly that a tremendous number of these first-time gun buyers were buying handguns for self-defense. Do you think that's a safe assumption on my part?
Yeah, I think so.
So we wrote an article. This guy who's sitting here in this chair wrote an article, and we published it a while ago. It's not the first time we talked about this subject, but it is a very a basic but thorough understanding of what is important for first-time or relatively new gun buyers, especially, like I said, there's probably a lot of people out there who, well, my family's always owned like 22 rifles, or my family goes bird hunting every fall or whatever, but I've never owned a handgun or a self-defense gun. I've never carried a gun for self-defense, but now it seems like it might be a good idea, right? Number one, choosing your first handgun. The big question, and which is most people have already made for themselves, is what do I want to do with this thing? Right? And people are like, well, what kind of gun should I buy, Paul? And my first question is, I don't know. What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to shoot it.
I'm going to shoot it. Yeah, I'm going to shoot it. But like, what are you going to shoot it at? If you're going to shoot it at, empty cans that are sitting on a stump behind the family farm, you don't need a Smith & Wesson Model 329 Airweight 44 Magnum. I mean, you're an American. If you want to shoot pop cans with a 44 Magnum, it can be fun. It's expensive fun. And the 329 is one of those guns that's easy to carry, not so easy to shoot. You can shoot it, but you're going to know it.
You should probably, make sure that you're squared away with what you're doing before you shoot that kind of thing. You know those videos that you see on the internet of the boyfriend that's not so nice to his girlfriend? That's the kind of gun that is used in those.
Yeah, that's the skull splitter. That's the one that people go and it splits their nose and stuff like that. Yeah, they're really light, which is great because that means you're not toting around a whole bunch of weight all day. But it's still a 44 Magnum.
The lighter the firearm, the lighter the handgun, the more recoil that you're actually going to be able to feel.
The felt recoil, and it's also a revolver, so it's not like there's a spring taking up, a big heavy spring taking up some of that recoil. It's all going into your hand, brother.
That's actually a good point to make. If we're talking to new gun owners, the difference in why a striker fired gun is you have less felt recoil than a revolver, and it's simply because there is something inside the gun that's absorbing a portion or a percentage of the recoil that you're feeling, or that you could
physical
feel.
Mechanics.
Yep.
There's actually physical mechanics involved. With a revolver, it's a solid piece of steel, and the only thing that's absorbing the recoil or dealing with the recoil is your wrists and your hands, and the weight of the gun, the actual gun weight. Now, with a semi-automatic handgun, you still feel it. Obviously, don't get me wrong. But a percentage of that recoil impulse is taken up by the spring as it's moving. So I know it's science, but so number one, the main question, and there may be still some people out there that are on the fence and they're thinking, well, I'm thinking about it, but I haven't made the decision yet. Question number one: what are you going to do with it? If you're going to, like I said, shoot tin cans off of a stump or a fence post, and you just want to go shoot for fun, then buy a 22 Ruger and Ruger Mark III or Mark IV and have fun and go crazy. But that's not what you want if you think you might have to grab it off the nightstand and shoot a human. And let me get that into your noggins right now. People are like, well, I'll just get the Ruger because it's fun to shoot, and I'll keep it by my bed just in case. The purpose of shooting a predator, whether four or two-legged, is to make it stop whatever behavior it's doing immediately or as close to immediately as possible. right? As physiologically possible. Yeah, and can and do people die from being shot with 22s? Yeah. And do they stop doing bad things if they're shot with a 22? Yeah. But there's usually a long period of time between when they got shot with that 22 and they stop doing bad things, okay? Or they notice. The point with the my problem with the 22 is if you shoot them, I kind of want them to notice, right? I want them to be aware of the fact that they were shot. And if they're in the middle of kicking down your front door and coming in with an axe handle to kill you or smash your skull in, and you're popping off little pipsqueak rounds at them, they may notice eventually, and then again, they may not. I don't know. So think about it like this. If the 22 was the greatest handgun in the world, all police officers would carry them, right? But they're not. So you want to get something that you can handle, that you can shoot fairly well, and that fits in your hand. And that's where we've recommended the various striker-fired 9mm guns. For instance, the Canik make full-size, duty-size guns. They make compact guns. They make subcompact guns. So they have different sizes for different size people. If you're keeping a gun inside, like for instance, you're not going to carry it on your body. It's only going to be kept in the house. It doesn't need to be really small. And that's another thing that people are like, oh, well, yeah, I'll get that real small one. Are you going to carry it on your body? Oh, no, I'm just going to keep it in the house. Well, then you don't need a tiny gun because you're not hiding it. You don't need to hide it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't need to hide the gun if it's in your house, right? And if you need to hide it, just put a hand towel over it or something. I don't know. But fact is, tiny small guns are for concealment. But little guns are always harder to control and harder to shoot than full-size handguns. So we talked about picking a gun. If you're a new gun owner or a recent gun owner, and I know a lot of you guys out there, and I'm glad that you're sticking with me, a lot of you student of the gun aficionados, you veterans and so forth, you're like, Paul, I get all this. I already know it all. I'm good to go. Yeah, but this is what you need to be teaching others. This is the advice you need to be giving those other people in your life, at your church, at your school, at your family members, whatever. You got that cousin that just decided he's going to buy a pistol for the first time, whatever. You need to be able to help them out. Universal safety rules. Help me out there, boys. What are they? And where do they apply?
They apply everywhere in the known universe. That's why they're called the universal safety rules. Rule number 1 is keep your finger straight and off the trigger until your sights are aligned and you have made the decision to shoot. And if you're a new listener or new gun owner and you haven't done much training, then in order to keep your finger straight and off the trigger, the best way that I've found to do it, if you've got a gun that's got like a Glock, for instance, it's got a little like a divot, I guess, kind of above the trigger guard. Stick your finger there, or you can use the ejection port on if you don't have a revolver. So rule number 2, Zach, you want to pick that one up, or you want me to continue?
I don't remember the exact order of them, but I know that one of them is never allow the firearm to cover anything you are not willing to destroy.
Boom. That is number 2, buddy.
Hey,
At least as it is in the article.
A muzzle. The muzzle's the dangerous end. That's the hole where the bullet comes out.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. The muzzle is the hole where the bullet comes out, and you never allow that to point at anything you're not willing to shoot. Not intend to, but willing to.
Yeah.
Which includes what?
Yourself.
Yeah, yourself. Yourself.
I was to say everything that you're not willing to shoot is what it includes.
Yeah. All right, number 3.
Number 3 is simply to treat all guns as if they are always loaded, all the time.
That's right.
Unless there is an asterisk. Unless you verify by 2 independent means, and that could be you and another person. It could be visually and physically. So you look in the chamber, and then you're looking for an empty chamber. Okay, that's right. What you're looking for. When you look in there, you want to see an empty chamber, and then you can feel with your pinky or your finger or whatever. So visually and physically, that's 2 independent means. The reason being is because you've got to clean these things at some point in time, right? And if you treated all guns as if they were loaded all the time, then you would never be able to break the gun down.
Yeah, you could never open it and clean it and so forth. Yeah. But the fact is Rule 1 still applies, Rule 2 still applies.
Yep.
So, now you say, but I've got a Glock, and you have to press the trigger to disassemble it because you have to. You know why you guys have to do that, right? It's because with a striker-fired gun, there's tension. There is spring tension on the striker. And in order to remove the slide, you have to take that spring tension off. And with most guns, like the Smith & Wesson M&P, the Glock, etc., the way you do that is to point the gun in a safe direction. And a safe direction is any direction that would absorb a bullet. A bookshelf full of books, a wall, a cinder block wall or whatever. Like, I don't want to shoot my cinder block wall. I don't want to shoot it either. But the fact of the matter is, if you shot it, it would absorb the bullet, and it wouldn't. An interior wall made of drywall and paneling will not absorb a bullet. Okay, it'll go right on through and keep on going into the next room and the next and the next.
That actually leads into the last rule, and it's know your target, what is around it and what's beyond it. So, maybe your target is not actually your wall, but while you're disassembling, know where your gun is pointed and what is beyond that thing. Even if it's a wall, if the bullet goes through it, who's on the other side of the wall, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the person that accidentally shoots your kid because the bullet went through the wall, right? And
that just happened again, Jared?
Man,
in Ohio.
Now that I have a child, like I always felt empathy for those people, but now that I have a baby, it actually brings tears to my eyes.
It wasn't a kid, it was a neighbor.
It was a what?
A cop was clearing his gun in Ohio, and it went boom, and the bullet cruised straight on through the wall, and it went into his neighbor's house.
Oh man.
Yep. So, the trick with guns is angles. All right. If you're holding the gun and when you're clearing a gun, it should always either be up or down. Okay. You're like, well, if you're in a single story house and you're in your garage or your workshop or whatever, and you point it up, and let's just say God hates you at this moment in time or
God
whatever.
loves everybody.
Yeah. Or, not everybody. Anyway, but let's just say that Satan put a round in the chamber and the gun goes boom and it launches and it goes out of your roof. It goes, now you have a hole in your roof. But the good news is it's not that big. You can patch it easily. But what are the chances that a person's going to get hit by that bullet? Probably not very good.
When it comes back down.
Well, yeah, but it's only going to come down with the force of gravity, not the force of propellant.
Yeah. I think Mythbusters did an episode on that. I don't remember what the conclusion was, if that would break your skull or not.
It won't kill you.
Okay.
Or down, like at the floor. Same situation. You're in a one-story house and you have a carpet and a baseboard, and underneath that is like 18 inches of crawl space and then dirt, and the gun goes bang. Goes through the carpet, the baseboard, and into the dirt under your house. You're going to feel stupid, but nobody's going to bleed. But if you're holding it flat, parallel, even, horizontal with the wall, and you fire it, that's where humans are. So know where you're pointing your gun at all times. This is extremely important, new gun buyers. Extremely important. All right, let's move on to number 3, choosing ammunition. Isn't all ammo the same? I mean, I told him I bought a 38, and I said I want 38 ammo, and he pushed this box across the counter at me and said, "Here, buy this." And I said, "Okay, thanks."
This one says like 55 grains, and this one says like 57 grains, and this one says like 52 and a half grains. Is that like how many? Did they count the grains of powder that they put in?
If you find a 52 and a half grain projectile, you need to send it to me immediately because I want to see it. Yeah, but it's not so much the weight of the bullets as it is the design. So kids out there who just bought new guns, and most of you are bargain shopping because you don't know any better. You're like, well, what's the cheapest one I can get? And he's like, this one right here in the white box. Okay, I'll take that. A competent gun shop owner, this is why we buy guns at gun shops, not at discount stores, because the discount store guy is an hourly wage dude who doesn't give a crap what you buy. He just needs to sell products, right? And the guy who owns the local gun shop probably has been doing it for 20 years or more, and has answered 10,000 questions, and he's pretty deep into it. All right. They make two basic kinds of ammunition. They make defensive ammunition, which is purposely designed to be shot into predators. Okay? And then they make practice ammo. And you're like, well, why wouldn't they make it all just the same? Well, because practice ammo is meant to be less expensive so you can go out to the range and shoot a bunch of it. Defensive ammo is designed to shoot predators. And when it comes, and like we just said 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, when it comes time to defend your life against a predator, you don't go cheap. Spend the money on the good ammo. And you say, but does it really make a difference, Paul? Yes, it does. The manufacturers of defensive ammo use better, more expensive parts and components. And those parts are what? What are the four basic parts of a cartridge, Jared?
Case, bullet, propellant, and the primer.
Primer, yep. The little button in the back, that little circular button in the back of your cartridge, it's not a bullet, it's a cartridge. That is the primer. That's the part that goes pow. Inside of the case, that's the shiny either silver or brass looking thing. That's where the powder is held. You don't see the powder, but it's there. The primer cap makes a spark. The spark turns the propellant from a solid into a gas as it burns, and it burns really fast.
And hot.
And creates expanding gas. And that expanding gas takes the bullet, which is actually the only part that flies down range, and strikes the target, and it pushes it out. So if you're making defensive ammo, all of those components are going to be more expensive. The bullets, the projectiles, the cases, all that stuff. If you're making ammunition that people are just going to go out and do a bunch of practice, like I said, the quintessential shooting paper, cardboard, steel, bottles, cans, whatever, then you want to be able to shoot a lot, so they use less expensive components. The trick is buy enough defensive ammo that you can run it through your gun so that you know it will work reliably, and then after you've done that, buy the less expensive stuff to practice with. Okay? It does make a difference. As someone who has shot a lot of fleshy things, I've shot a lot of creatures constructed of flesh throughout my life, and I can tell you that they respond differently. There's a big difference in the response of a predator to a jacketed hollow point projectile or a full metal jacket projectile. That's the way that works. All right, let's move down to practice and training.
All right, training and practice. There's a quick question here. He says, this is from a YouTube comment, and it says, hand-loaded ammo for self-defense. And what they mean by hand-loaded is reloaded ammo.
Right. No. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how skilled you are. I don't care how much practice you have. Have you loaded 10 million rounds this month? Well, no, of course I haven't. You know who has? Federal, Remington, Black Hills. Do you have $100 million in liability insurance? You don't? You know who does? Remington, Federal, Winchester, Black Hills, Corbin, et al. Okay. If you ever have to shoot a human predator and they're conducting an investigation, and I'm not going to get into the killer bullet thing. No, I'm talking about an investigation where they need to replicate what that bullet did. If you use a factory standard load from, let's say, Black Hills, the Black Hills Honey Badger 9mm, you know what the investigators can do? They can go directly to Black Hills and they can get the factory specifications, and they can get essentially identical loads. And if they want to go and shoot wallboard or Jello or whatever they want to do to replicate that, they can do it just like that. You say, "Whoa, they can do the same thing with my hand loads." A, no, they can't, and B, you're a party to the incident. You are not an impartial third party. If you shot someone with your own hand loads, they're not going to take your word for it. Like, yeah, they are. Sure they are. No, no, no. If you want a hand load for practice and training, RTFO, rock on. But when it comes to shooting, to loading up your guns to shoot predators, and I mean dangerous predators that could kill you, you spend the money, buy good ammunition, and move on with your life. All right, training and practice, aren't they the same thing? Are they the same thing, Jared? Is training and practice the same thing? I'm going out to train today.
They're not. Like Dad said earlier in the show somewhere, I don't remember what we were talking about, but training is what you do under the watchful eye of an instructor. You have essentially a coach is with you there. Practice is what you do after you leave that training class or the one-on-one training or whatever you're doing with a coach. You go back to your local range and you do the things that you learned at the training class, and that's called practice.
Yes. You can't correct your own mistakes. Doesn't matter whether you're lifting weights, whether you're driving a car, a motorcycle, whether you're playing a guitar. You don't see your own mistakes. You don't, and you're like, yeah, I do. Okay, whatever. The fact of the matter is, you will learn way faster under the watchful eye of an experienced instructor. Okay, you can learn in 2 days things that would take you 10 years to figure out on your own. Okay. So and most people don't. Most people just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again because they don't know they're making them. Training is what you do. You pay someone who has experience, who you trust, to train you. And they teach you a bunch of stuff. And it's okay that you haven't mastered that stuff. It's like all right, guitar lessons. You go and you pay somebody for 2 hours worth of guitar lessons. And they teach you chords, and they teach you picking techniques, and they teach you how to tune, and they teach you all that stuff. And then they send you away. They send you away, and they say, okay, now go practice the stuff that I just showed you. They don't expect you to be perfect. They don't expect you to be able to play all the chords and everything correctly and perfectly while you're sitting there with them, right? No. Same thing with firearms training. You go to firearms training, they teach you, you learn it, and then you go home and you practice what they taught you. So there is a difference. Now, can you expand your brain and learn? Can you get information from DVDs and books and stuff like that? Yeah, you can. But the fact is, and that can help you practice, but it can't train you. All right, the last big thing, and this is kind of the, eye and ear protection are mandatory. Don't be a knucklehead. If you're using a firearm, whether it's in an indoor range or an outdoor range, you need to protect your eyes and you need to protect your ears always. All the time, not once in a while, not occasionally, every single time. If you want to be part of the gun culture, you need to not act like an amateur or a knucklehead. And you know who are amateurs and knuckleheads? People standing around at outdoor ranges with their fingers in their ears. All right? That's amateur hour, and you need to be better than that.
Earplugs cost, you can get a bag of them for like $3.
Right. If you're going to be indoors, if you're outdoors, earplugs will probably be okay. If you're going to be indoors where the noise is bouncing off the ceiling and the sidewalls, put muffs on. Buy earmuffs, put them on, and wear them. And then the last thing, we just alluded to it real quickly, was care and handling of firearms. Your gun is essentially a simple machine. That's what it is. It's a simple machine. It has moving parts. It has springs. It has levers. It's made of steel and aluminum, maybe some plastic, maybe a little bit of wood, whatever. And the fact is that machines run best when they're what?
Well lubricated, well oiled.
Yeah, clean.
Clean too.
Clean and well lubricated. That's how it works. Now, when I say well lubricated, it shouldn't be dripping off of your gun. Okay.
There is there is a such thing as too much lube.
In fact, we did a video about that. Remember?
Yeah, it shouldn't be dripping off of your gun. But anywhere, you say, well, when and where should I lube my gun? A, you don't need to lube plastic, and you don't need to lube aluminum because it's not going to rust, and wood won't rust either. Anything that could rust, like hardened steel, should get a light amount of lube. Put it on a rag and wipe it on there. And then anywhere where metal is rubbing against metal, this is particularly important with semi-automatic handguns with slides. Anywhere where steel is rubbing against steel needs to have oil, needs to have lubrication. So it's not that difficult. And the truth of the matter is, if you just bought a handgun and you don't know anything about it and how and what, pull that book out. the booklet that says how to disassemble, how to clean, how to whatever, and actually read it. Or go to YouTube. But every manufacturer puts a manual in with their gun. Or they put a card in there that says go to our website, whatever, johnnysblasters.com. So, all right, that is it, I think, according to Jared and Zach. Is that good for time, Zach?
Yeah, I think
That is good, yes.
All right. If you're a first gun owner and you want to know more, go to studentofthegun.com and take the 7 training tips that could save your life.
Yep.
And if you want to know even more about, like, when am I allowed to shoot people and when am I not allowed to shoot people and what should I do after I shoot someone, is there any place, or what could they do if they have those questions?
We did an Armed Living DVD, but the first step for you, if you're a new gun owner, is go to studentofthegun.com, get the 7 training tips course. It's filled with the fundamentals, and it's timeless because fundamentals are always timeless with any activity that you're doing. So go to there, get the 7 training tips course, and I'll send you an email with access and stuff. If you want to know more about the Armed Living DVD that we have, that's a little bit more in depth about the justification and legality, and then that goes even more in depth about the concealed carry stuff, then reply to one of those emails and let me know, and I'll send you a link.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining. If you are an experienced guy, share this with somebody that's a new gun owner. They might actually learn something. Remember, you're a beginner once,
But you're a student for life.
We appreciate your reviews. If you haven't left a review or updated yours recently, head on over to Facebook, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast player to voice your opinion. Don't forget to join us at the Student Lounge, a place for like-minded individuals to learn, connect, and support each other. No chicanery will be tolerated. Remember to check studentofthegun.com daily for new, free content and giveaways. Watch, listen, read, shop, and connect at studentofthegun.com. Are you a social butterfly? Connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for new content each and every day at Student of the Gun. Watch Student of the Gun TV and videos from our trusted partners on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Chromecast, and even AirPlay. Go to studentofthegun.com for direct links, and remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.